End the Great Depression too. It's how you can be a force for change, not politics. You ask, I thought it was the Great Recession. Well, the great euphemism is more like it. What we have is a Great Depression. And like most Great Depressions, we have multiple recessions and recoveries. So it's easy to mistake a recession and a recovery as some sort of great change out of a Great Depression or avoiding it. The fact of the matter is they all have those multiple recessions and recoveries. What differentiates them is that those recoveries are not complete in a depression. You don't get back to the level of income that you had before, whether from periods of unemployment or from getting employed at a much lower wage. So the key thing here is that the income is still depressed. That's why we are still in a depression. And it's the length of the depression that makes it great. It's that persistent, grinding depression of income that makes it into a Great Depression. In fact, an earlier Great Depression, the one before the 1930s, was renamed the Long Depression to emphasize the length being the critical factor here. And as a result of that long-term depression of income, you end up with homelessness and persistent homelessness because people aren't able to get back into homes because their income has not recovered. So Obama did not avoid this Great Depression. And that's why his supporters call it the Great Recession, to obscure the fact that, in fact, he did not avoid the Great Depression, and instead we focus on one of the recessions, the leading recession in this recession recovery cycle that forms a Great Depression, this Great Depression 2. Now, the only thing that Obama avoided was calling the Great Depression 2 by its name, by its proper name. Obama could then claim credit for the recoveries in the natural epicycles during a depression. And therefore, it shifts the focus to economic growth and not focusing on income restoration. Without income restoration, homelessness persists and grows. More people are ground down by that non-complete recovery during a Great Depression, and during this Great Depression too. And just as Obama did not avoid it, Trump did not end it. He exploited the falsehoods spread by the Obama supporters, chief among them that we should focus on economic growth. That doesn't help the people whose incomes have been permanently depressed during this Great Depression too. What it does do is give people false hope that in fact we are finally starting to recover from this. And it also emphasizes growth, which necessarily would have to be great in order to attempt to get out of the Great Depression too, but it has to be a lot greater in order for people's incomes to recover. Now, the job numbers in the age of consultancy, the period after 1980 or so, are fake. That's because people who are consultants aren't considered employed when they have a contract and aren't considered unemployed when they don't have a contract. They are unable to claim unemployment benefits because of that. And therefore, the numbers that are presented are fake. People are actually not getting income. They're not really employed, and they're not getting a replacement of employment through a contract. The bottom line is that income has not been restored. Homelessness persists because of that lack of income restoration, but it's blamed on other factors. And we've seen that in blaming it on an opioid crisis, on blaming it on depression, blaming it on mental illness, blaming it on everything except what is the actual cause of this persistent homelessness, which is permanently depressed income because we are in a Great Depression too. And the focus on selective improvement, that people in certain rural areas, people who have been bypassed in some of the other areas of economic growth, suddenly get a small amount of economic growth, and it's taken as this great change that has made our economy into the greatest one for workers, when in fact that's an outright lie. It's just cherry picking, and selective improvements. They're not a general improvement. Furthermore, some of the policies of the Trump administration are counterproductive. The tariffs, though they might have some good effect on particular areas where we're trying to get more industry growing within our economy, has a general depressing effect on the world economy, on the global economy, and therefore spreads depression. And as it's spreading depression, that depression comes home to roost. It comes in the nature of refugees from economically depressed areas that are economically depressed because of our trade policy both now and in the past. And it also comes home to roost because other countries can themselves put tariffs on imports from the United States. And then suddenly, oh, well, they're fighting back. Well, yeah, and they're also getting us into this vicious cycle of trying to build up economic growth, not really dealing with the income issue, but building up economic growth domestically by taking it away from economic growth overseas. Then what do we do? We end the Great Depression too by treating depression's cause. Now, Milton Friedman showed us in the Great Depression, in the case study of the Great Depression during the 1930s, that cause was monetary. We were not putting enough money into the economy. However, Friedman's model of fiscal money was deficient due to Hayek and the Austrian economists, who failed to recognize that money is currency only, that money is a medium of exchange. It's never a store of value. Assets are a store of value. So his emphasis on asset-based loans of banks, creating the loans from the banks, are creating bank money, debt money. His emphasis on that is refusal to look at the fiscal money side of the equation, that is the chartless cycle of creating money by spending it into the economy and then destroying it when it comes back again in taxes and other revenue. So he missed the boat on the fiscal money. C.P. Clapper corrected that deficiency in Popular Capitalism, which is longer work. But he presents a more succinct cure in The Way Out. You ask, what can I do to help? First, you can stop spreading the false memes on social media. All this business of, well, Obama's avoided the Great Depression and Trump has got the greatest economy ever. Those are all false memes. They distract from the real issues that are involved here, and they dissuade people from becoming educated about it or promoting education about the Great Depression too and its cure. So secondly, you can educate yourself by reading The Way Out. Third, you can encourage others to get the way out. And fourth, you can call and write public officials to implement the way out. You wonder, how does that help? First case, by ending the fractious and fallacious debate in this country, which has us tied in knots and unable to actually solve the problem. The second step, by enabling you to discuss the way out intelligently with your neighbors, your family, your friends, and eventually with public officials, possibly. And by getting the way out, you make it visible in the public forum. Right now it's hidden from view because practically nobody's bought it. Nobody's read it, nobody's talked about it. And then by advocating the way out directly to those who can implement it now, you take the stress off of elections and getting some magical messiah to come in to fix things, and switch it over to saying, well, this is the game plan. This is how we solve it. We can take the way out. We can end the Great Depression too. And you can do it, Mr. Public Official, who's in there now. So where can I get the way out? You can get it on Amazon following this link. And I realize this is not very intelligible, but it's www.amazon.com/way-out-government-government/DP/19348820046. You just notice it on the screen, jot it down, maybe even follow that link if it allows you to do so. And the other is at Word Up Bookstore. That's over in at 2113 Amsterdam Avenue, New York, New York, and the zip is 10032. And they also have a website, which is wordupbooks.com. So those are two ways that you can get the way out currently.